to infinity and beyond.
This is me. This is how I win.
Were you rushing or were you dragging? Answer!
You're a wizard, Harry.
Say what again? Say what again? I dare you.
No, I am your father.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
And here we go.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back inside the film room. Zach Goins here with Jake Lawler.
Hello.
We are back. A little delay after our busy week, my vacationing and Jake's soon-to-be filmed short story that we'll be talking about in a minute. But, you know, we're back. We've got a big episode today. A whole lot of news has happened, actually, which is nice since we haven't really had a ton to talk about recently. And we've got a double review today talking The King of Staten Island as well as Artemis Fowl. One movie significantly better than the other. I think I'm the only one that watched Artemis Fowl, and I can't blame you, Jake. You did not check it out, right?
I do not.
Okay, you're lucky there. So it'll just be, I know you don't like to rip movies too hard, so I think that'll be good that it's just me talking about it. But,
yeah, I think that's fair, yeah.
But we've also got those two movies. They don't seem to have a connection, but they're both somewhat about fathers. And it was Father's Day this past Sunday. So we will be talking top 5 best movie dads. So jam-packed episode. Before we dive into some news, let's just catch up. It's been a minute. Jake, how has your week been? You're working on your short film. That's just tell the people how exciting that is. Give us a breakdown of what's happening.
No, it's been really cool. It's really cool to see something start from just words on a screen to something that will end up being filmed this Saturday, and it's been a good process. Me and my brother co-wrote it. We have a really good crew that we're really excited about. Good location. It's always good to work with good people, and you know we're really excited to kind of show everyone it when we have a cut of it ready to show. But yeah, I mean, it's been great. It's been something that I'm glad that I'm getting into the field to do, and we're going to keep going from here.
Will this be, I know you've written a lot. This will be the first one that you've actually gotten out and filmed. Is that right?
Yeah. This will be the first one.
Any nerves? I know you said you're starring in it as well.
Yeah. Yeah. My brother and I are acting in it. No, not really. I mean, one of the many things that like Coach Brown has said that has always been really good is that you shouldn't be nervous for something that you love. You should be anxious for it. And I think that's really how both of us are feeling. We've written the script, so like we know exactly what to say. We know why we're saying it. And we know like the meaning and intention behind the words and behind the story. But no, I mean, I think it's just, if it's something that you love, then I don't think you should ever get nervous about it. You should just be, you should be anxious and you should be ready to go. And I think that's exactly what we're feeling. So,
are you going to have like a David Fincher style level of perfection with yourself? You know, if you don't get it perfectly right, are you going to do 10, 15, 100 takes?
Yeah, no, I don't think that we have the budget to do 100 takes, but we will definitely do a few. But Connor and I have been rehearsing with each other and with another one of the director on our team, and we feel really confident about the performance and about what we're doing. So hopefully we can get it right the first or second or third take, and then take a couple more just for editing purposes to have different versions of it.
Can you give us any little synopsis or tease of what it could be about, or is that still under wraps?
I will say that it has to deal with morality. So
Sounds
but
profound.
that's really all I can say. But it does have to do with morality.
No plot leaks from the set for the Lawler brothers. It is a
No, we don't have
encrypted
TMZ
file.
storming it. Yeah.
We're gonna get the paparazzi. I won't disclose the location so that the paparazzi won't be taking set photos.
Yeah, just show up with the 65 zoom on it and take.
I'll be in the bushes, you know.
Just leak them to Charlotte Observer.
Hey, those might be worth something one day after this blows up.
I appreciate it. How was the beach?
Yeah, I haven't been doing nearly as many significant career movements as you. I was laying on the beach for the last week. It was good. It was nice to, like I said last episode, it was nice to kind of get away from Charlotte and my house that I've been in since March. So just to get a change of scenery, you know, got to lay out on the beach, get some sun, read some books, just hang out. That's good.
Yeah,
I caught a fish. I caught a flounder.
Oh,
The biggest fish I've ever caught.
You said you didn't do any career moves.
Yes, I'm retiring from journalism and I'm joining the professional. What is it even called? I don't know. Professional Fishermen Association.
Oh yeah, I'm telling you, that's a good.
I found my calling.
That's a good community. They're like the mafia, though.
Yeah, catch me out on Lake Norman now every day.
Oh, that'd be nice. You want to get to some news here?
Let's do it. We've got, first off the bat, we talked about it last week. Will it get delayed? And it has since been delayed. Tenet moves from July 17th to July 31st. And that is not the only one. There have been lots of Warner Brothers delays announced basically for their entire upcoming slate. But with Tenet making that move 2 weeks later, it's not a huge move, but it now means that Mulan from Disney will be the first big movie to potentially reopen theaters on July 24th. What do you think just general thoughts on this? I know you said you would not be going out to see Mulan. You would for Tenet. Do you think that means there's going to be a slow start to reopening theaters? Because we know that there's some movies that are going to be re-released, some big names to try and jumpstart things. Just what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I really don't know. I mean, I really think it could go in either way. I think that releasing the big hits of the past. I mean, we've seen things like Empire Strikes Back and the Dark Knight trilogy, and Raiders is also being the big, and Jurassic Park. You know, just big kind of classic, iconic blockbusters being re-released is smart. Just to kind of garner some attention. It's more of like a conservative safety pick before we start rolling with new releases.
Right, but I feel like for me, I just can't justify like a movie that I have on Blu-ray or something, you know, like something that I've seen. I'm not going to go risk my health to go watch that in a theater. As much as I love Star Wars, I will not be in attendance for any of these re-releases, I don't believe.
Yeah, and I think that it's just a difficult metric to observe because we've never really been in a situation like this before where we're counting on beloved movies to kind of garner some goodwill and good faith to go back to see new ones. I don't know how well Mulan will do, but I think that Tenet's just one of those things, and it's funny because I saw a tweet that said, what if the marketing campaign for Tenet is just moving it 2 weeks back inch by inch, so people never stop talking about it.
I've seen some memes that are like Tenet actually already happened and we've all seen it just because of their whole like mind-boggling time travel stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, who knows? I do think Tenet is going to do well. Honestly, I do. I think that it's just one of those movies where there's so much attention on it. There's so much press around it just because it is the the film that is supposed to save movies again.
Do you think they kind of were playing like a hot potato with Disney here? That like they're like,
Yeah.
okay, well, we don't. If things go
Mistake.
south, we don't want to be the movie that caused it. So now we're moving
Yeah.
back 2 weeks. It's your turn. You can take the blame. So
Yeah.
now it'd be like if Disney were to move back to the week after Tenet, would it just keep being like a game of chicken?
Yeah. And who's to say? I mean, coronavirus cases are spiking across the country because people just really don't care anymore. So who's to say what this will look like? Because right now it is a day, like in July, we're talking a month before Mulan releases. So who knows what it will look like?
Yeah, and that's not the only, like I said, not the only delay, Tenet being on the Warner Brothers slate. We also have Wonder Woman 1984 delayed again. It's gone from June to August, and now from August 14th to October 2nd, which that was like, they made a big announcement about Tenet, but they kind of slid this one under the radar. But I mean, I think it's a good move, because this is the same weekend that Joker had massive success last year in that first weekend of October. Previously, the year before, that's when A Star Is Born came out. So it's proven to be a solid spot. I mean, not saying that Wonder Woman's going to be like an awards contender, but it's just proven to be a good spot to really rake in the money there. I mean, it's a prestigious date now.
Yeah, and it's a smart pick. There's going to be a lot of blockbusters that were supposed to come out in the fall. I mean, in the spring and summer that have been moved to either the fall or next year, and playing it in a slot where a movie has performed well, and here's hoping that in the fall it will look better, at least in terms of things being safe to return to. But I'm still under the impression that we have a long way to go with coronavirus, and I don't necessarily know when it's going to go back to normal, if it ever will. And
right, everyone's just kind of assuming that the fall is going to be, we'll be good to go. But
yeah,
I mean, at this rate, there was a good reference on Twitter saying that, okay, well, we didn't do what we needed to do in the spring, so we lost summer, and now we're still not doing what we need to do in the summer, so it doesn't look like we're going to get a fall. So hopefully people can turn things around so that we do have some sort of a regular fall.
For sure.
Also, some lesser titles, I guess, on the Warner Brothers slate, not as pressing as those two. Tom and Jerry got moved to the live action Tom and Jerry, which who knows if we need that, but that is now releasing March 5th, 2021. Godzilla vs. Kong, in a move potentially making it the new Mutants, is now May 21st, 2021. That movie has gone from March 13th, 2020 to November 2020 to 2021 now. And we have yet to see a shred of footage. So that could be the new Mutants. And then The Matrix 4, way off in the distance. It still got pushed to April 1st, 2022. So just some all-around shuffling there for Warner Brothers. And then another kind of in the same vein here, I mean, we talked about some movies getting re-released. We know that Christopher Nolan's Tenet is not coming out on that July 17th date, but Inception is. 10-year re-release to jumpstart theater attendance. And Inception will feature sneak peek footage of upcoming Warner Brothers slate, including Tenet, Wonder Woman 1984, and as Johnny Sobchak loves, we're going to get a first sneak peek at Dune there. So I feel like they're hoping that promise alone is enough to get people to come and watch Inception. What are you, I mean, is that, we kind of just talked about it, but is that something that would draw you in, or are you still sitting that one out?
I mean, honestly, like I might just pay for the ticket, see the Dune thing, and then go home.
Johnny had texted me and said, hey man, can I call dibs on writing up some stuff on the Dune sneak peek from Inception for the website? And I was like, sure, yeah, go ahead. I'm not planning on being there, so that is all you, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm incredibly excited to see what Denis Villeneuve has to offer with Dune, but And I think I would. I think I honestly would go, but I don't know how long I would stay because I've seen Inception.
Right. I don't think that would be worth it because we're getting the full trailer, I believe, at the end of July so like a week later, 2 weeks later during the Comic-Con at home.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not like it's going to be, and so what they said basically is that this is probably not going to be a trailer. It's going to be like a behind the scenes footage or something like that. So it's nothing that's going to be like groundbreaking to put you at a disadvantage in the Dune fandom and with the Dune stands. I mean, Johnny's probably already got all of those locked up anyways. So
yeah.
So moving on, we're still in this kind of return to the theater news. We got some updates from AMC and Regal, both announcing their safety plans to reopen this week. To me, Regal's plan sounds better than AMC's just because they were pretty similar, but Regal had like this new technology. I don't remember the name of it. It was like some sort of like demisting, like fog, like that they go into each theater and like spray this stuff and it's supposed to like clean everything. And it was like that to me just sounds like I don't know if it is effective, but it at least has the impression of, to a dumb person like me, that makes it sound like it's more effective. That I'm like picturing some like fog machine that clearly like shooting hand sanitizer in vapor form basically. But then there was also the fact that AMC, when they first announced their plan, they didn't require masks, which is just purely astounding to me that they were not going to. I mean, obviously when you're eating your popcorn, you can't have a mask on, but coming and going into the theater, if you're not eating, like, I think that should be a thing. And thanks to the internet and the power of cyberbullying, AMC reversed course, and now you are required to wear a mask. So, like, glad to see that after everyone called them out on how dumb that was, they finally gave in.
I mean, it's like there's absolutely no harm to you, and it's only helpful to others to wear one. So it just seems insane to me. Like, why? Well, I guess it's not insane considering the country, but like that this has become some big politicized issue about wearing a mask, and if you wear one, you're affiliated with some sort of party. But just wear a mask. I mean, it's just like it's the easiest thing you can do, and it's about community. It's about helping other people. So just
I feel like that's the scariest part of it, is that like what we've been told is that like wearing a mask doesn't really help you, but it keeps you from spreading it. So like I could be out there in my mask, but if I'm in a theater with people that aren't wearing a mask, it doesn't mean anything. I mean, I'm doing my part to help them, but I'm screwed still.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, here's hoping that people wake up and people start to kind of realize the severity of the actions. I mean, I don't think it will happen, but
we can always dream.
Yeah, I mean, I think as mandatory mask rules are set in place, that's just one of those things where I think like if it does say mandatory next to it, people would just wear it anyway, even if they didn't want to, just because I think that when there is a rule in place, people are just more willing to follow one than just rather a suggestion. So
right, all the people that are highly encouraging, the people in power that are like AMC, they were like, we encourage our staff and our customers to wear masks, but then they didn't actually require it. Like,
yeah,
that's on you. So
yeah,
glad to see that they've reversed course. Makes me a little more comfortable. Still not sure what I will be doing come July, but we'll have to wait and see. But now shifting out of, I guess it's still coronavirus related news, but not reopening theaters news. We've got some big Oscars changes coming. The biggest, I would say, is the shift in the timeline. So instead of happening February 28th, the ceremony will now take place April 25th, 2021. So we've got a 2-month delay there due to coronavirus. And that means that the eligibility window will be extended until February 28th instead of ending at the end of December in 2020. So now this means to me, the most exciting thing about this is that movies could get pushed back. Some of those ones that are trying to cram in at the end of the year, they could now come out in January and February, which is when we usually have all our stinkers. And we might actually have some good movies to start the year.
Yeah, I mean, with you kind of hit the nail on the head with the changes. It really could be one of the best years for film in recent memory, just because with the strong January, February slate, with some films going to Netflix. I know we recently heard that Netflix is circling Trial of the Chicago 7.
Oh, we'll get there.
Yeah. As well as,
Mank is a Netflix movie.
Yeah, Mank as well. I just think that with the move, I think a lot of studios are going to take a little bit of a breather for their kind of highly acclaimed or hopefully highly acclaimed films, and be able to kind of sporadically put them around to make it a really packed slate, not only for January and February, but moving into the rest of the year as well.
I think it's going to be interesting just because it'll be a shame if a movie that came out, like, just because of, how Oscars are with recency bias and stuff, that the whatever, like 1917 came out widely in January. So it was like fresh on everyone's mind. If a movie that was really good in 2020, like way back at the beginning of 2020, is now kind of lost in the shuffle. And just especially if, I don't know if they've made a ruling yet, but like Sundance movies in 2021, like those kind of things, that's going to introduce a whole new slate of stuff that could be, I don't know if that'll be eligible or not, or if that'll be held over to try and balance things back out come 2022.
Yeah, no, it's going to be good to see. And also, the Oscars are saying that we will permanently have 10 Best Picture nominees instead of up to 10 in order to kind of help promote inclusivity for the Oscars and the Academy. I think it's a great move. I mean, I've been one of the many, many critics that have said that we need to have it at 10. There's no point in making it up to 10. And it's good to see that they're solidifying that by making it permanently 10.
Right. I mean, I just think I agree with you there. There's nothing that it just doesn't make sense to have 8 this year. Ever since they made that move, like to have like 8 one year, 9 one year, 10 one year, like I just make it a solid number. Make it 10 every year. Keep it consistent, and that just gives more opportunities to get some more movies in there instead of just kind of the traditional stuff that you see every year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So it's going to be interesting to see come April what makes it. I mean, there's still a lot of movies that are supposed to get to release that are on the back burner right now. But, as things hopefully settle down, I think that the Oscar race is going to be really, really fascinating this year.
Yeah. And another thing coming in 2021 is the Snyder Cut. And we finally got a little tease of some footage there. I know I'm going to give the intro here and then defer to you for our DC expert. But so this footage, it was a little tease from Zack Snyder, showed Diana Prince, Wonder Woman, looking at some sort of like mural relic, some sort of like ancient artifact. And there was a voiceover from Lex Luthor before showing it was footage this time, but the image that we'd seen of Darkseid previously, we got to see some footage of his kind of apocalyptic takeover. Jake, I know you're the Darkseid stan, you're the DC expert. Just kind of what are your takeaways here? Does this make this all the more promising of what we're going to get with the Snyder Cut?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been of the belief, and I think it's the right belief, that Darkseid, especially when Infinity War was coming out and people were like realizing how unbeatable Thanos is that if if Darkseid was in Infinity War, then it would have been a 10-minute movie. I mean, because he is just that utterly unstoppable. He's that utterly unbeatable. Some of his greatest portrayals have been in the kind of the animated space with the gaggle of different DC animated series, most notably as he's one of the arch nemesis of Superman. There is one of the great episodes where Darkseid and Superman kind of go off on Darkseid's home or world planet of Apocalypse, and it is just some of the strongest writing in terms of character that I've ever seen. Darkseid is amazing. I mean, he is. I think that he's the best villain, best comic book villain ever crafted. I think that he's one of the most unbelievably fascinating and insanely kind of complex villains ever. I mean, he's amazing, and hopefully they can do him justice and make him as threatening, as menacing, and as deadly as DC fans know him to be.
Yeah, that'll be something that we just have to wait and see. It'll be interesting to see how much of an impact he has in the Snyder Cut, whether it's him as the big bad or, I mean, we obviously got all of the I can't even remember the guy's name, that he was so bad. What was the horrible villain in Justice League?
Steppenwolf.
Steppenwolf. He was so bad. So hopefully he's just kind of completely erased. I mean, I know that this was supposed to be the first part of a 2-part vision. So it seems to be, if I were to guess, that it would be some sort of like build up to him in the second one with just a little bit of an appearance here. So hopefully we get to see him, like you said, at his full wrath. But we will be seeing more footage from the Snyder Cut and a whole lot of other Warner Brothers DC footage properties when DC hosts its virtual convention, the FanDome, on August 22nd. Obviously, with Comic-Con, with all of these conventions being canceled, they're taking it online. This will feature announcements and footage from Warner Brothers games, films, television, and comics. Plus, obviously for us, with the focusing on film, it'll have appearances from the cast and creators of Aquaman, the Batman, Snyder Cut, Black Adam, Shazam 2, The Suicide Squad, and Wonder Woman 1984. Of those or anything else, what are you most excited to see? What do you hope to see?
Yeah, I think for me, like we've seen Wonder Woman 84 already. We've seen a lot of it, and it looks fantastic. I mean, they've just done a tremendous job with her character. We've already seen Shazam, so it'll just be another iteration of that, which is going to be really cool. But honestly, I would say the top two that I'm excited for would be the Batman and the Suicide Squad. I know all the press for Batman before was amazing with the suit reveal with Michael Giacchino's score is still one of the coolest videos I've seen in recent memory when it comes to Batman. And everything about that is kind of shaping up to be not only one of the best comic book films in the past few years, but one of the best films in past few years, just knowing who's at the helm and who's working with it. And the Suicide Squad is kind of, the same way. James Gunn has a talent for creating worlds, and I think that the world of Suicide Squad is really particularly suited to him, especially with an ensemble group. And we've all known kind of the magic that he's created with Guardians of the Galaxy. So out of everything, I would say those are really kind of my top two most anticipated.
I agree with you. I'm with you, but this was not on the original announcement. But I can only assume there will be some sort of information about it. Maybe this is leaked a little early, but we got yesterday the big news with Michael Keaton returning as Batman for the Flash movie to kind of get this, again, deferring to you, but the Flashpoint storyline. It's going to be the multiverse basically within DC. We know Robert Pattinson's Batman is going to be 3 standalone movies, not connected to the DCEU. So with Michael Keaton returning, it seems to me like that was something that was going to be hopefully a big reveal at this convention, but instead came out a little early. So I feel like there probably will be some sort of like follow-up with that as well, which I think that would be cool to just kind of expand on.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So it's really cool that they're doing that. They absolutely didn't need to, but I think it's definitely like a win-win for them.
It's just exciting to see DC have some sort of direction, like some sort of vision that they're working towards.
And we've talked about it, that I think that they really are branching out and trying to become their own thing. I know that they really they felt that they had to play catch up with the MCU, and now they've kind of settled down and realized that they can create their own universe with their own heroes, with their own story, with their own way of thinking. And ultimately, I think that that's going to be a lot more beneficial for everyone involved.
I'm with you there. moving into some non-superhero news, we've got a couple trailers to break down. Trailer for Palm Springs, a new comedy dropping on Hulu July 10th. This is Andy Samberg and Kristen Milioti. I don't know how to say her last name, but the mother from How I Met Your Mother.
Mm-hmm.
So the plot, basically a Groundhog Day style movie. When carefree Niles and a reluctant maid of honor, Sarah, have a chance encounter at a Palm Springs wedding, things get complicated as they are unable to escape the venue themselves or each other. So they basically, like, he's been there stuck in this loop for quite some time, and she falls into the trap with him. And now they're both stuck living the same day over and over and over again, a la Groundhog Day. But, you know, this is like if Groundhog Day were a rom-com, basically, like a modern rom-com. So I think I'm a huge Andy Samberg fan. I love The Lonely Island. I love Popstar. I'm pumped for this. I like her too. So I think that this will be good, at least just something to entertain us during what is probably still going to be quarantine days.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. The trailer was great. Andy Samberg is he's incredibly funny, and he does an incredibly good job of picking roles that are suited for him. And I think that this is exactly down that path. So it's going to be interesting to keep your eye on for that, or keep your eye out for that one.
And the fact that it's on Hulu. It's like on a streaming platform. It's not something that you have to go out and spend the $20 for to rent at home or anything, that it's just easily accessible like that. I mean, that always bumps it up in my book to kind of have that ease of access to it.
Yeah, for sure.
We also got a trailer. I believe this was the second trailer for The King's Man, the prequel to the previous two Kingsman movies. This one, plot synopsis here: as a collection of history's worst tyrants and criminal masterminds gather to plot a war to wipe out millions, one man must race against time to stop them. This one, I think we've touched on it previously when that first trailer dropped, but it's set at World War I, which I think that's exciting in its own right, because there's 8 billion World War II movies, but I feel like World War I doesn't really get much attention. So I'm excited to see that and explore some of it. It looks to be not really like a revisionist history, but just some sort of like historical fiction where, okay, this is what happened that led to the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, like the kind of weaving fiction into reality.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a big fan of the Kingsman series and what they've done with it, and I think this iteration is going to be something that's really interesting. Like you said, you know, with the exception of 1917, I can't really recall a World War I movie that's not a documentary. And you know, I'm sure there are a few, but with this, it's going to be it's a new direction. I think it's a direction that's well suited for the style that Kingsman brings, especially with, you know, the trailer. It seems very much up their alley, and you know, they make money, so they make more movies, and I think it's going to be interesting to see kind of how it comes to fruition. Yeah,
another thing, you mentioned the style. I think it's a smart move to go prequel here, because previously, like, everything's all about like guns and shootouts and gadgetry and like technology, all of these modern day spy essentials. So to see them go back, you see a lot of sword combat, like hand-to-hand stuff in the trailer. So I'm excited to see that, just how that works to add a new twist to the style and how they go about with the combat here.
Yeah, I mean, sword fighting has always been, I think it's a lost art in film, because when I'm watching a fight, like if there's swords in it, I'm instantly much more intrigued.
It's like dancing. It's like, you see it in like Star Wars, Pirates of the Caribbean, whatever it is. Like,
yeah, no, swordplay. Yeah, swordplay is awesome in film. I mean, it's and when it works beautifully well. So it's really cool to see that, you know, a tried and true action franchise is bringing it to the table.
Next piece of news: Will Smith and Antoine Fuqua, I think I said that right, are teaming up for a runaway slave thriller titled Emancipation, based on the true story of Peter, a runaway slave forced to outwit cold-blooded hunters and the punishing Louisiana swamp on a torturous journey to the Union Army and his only chance at freedom. That right there alone, I love Will Smith. That sounds good enough for me. This is expected to start production in 2021, early 2021. And I wasn't off the top of my head not familiar with Fuqua and his resume, but did some research. Training Day, Olympus Has Fallen, the Equalizer movies, those are all definitely, I haven't seen Training Day, but I've seen the other ones, but those are all action-packed movies. So I think that's going to be interesting to see. That kind of sounds more of a serious drama, but I'm sure they'll work some action in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to be something that's interesting. I'm not really super high on people still making slave movies, but at least it's black people working on it. So
right.
But like you said, Fuqua's Training Day is one of the best films of the 2010s, in my opinion, and also one of the great Denzel Washington performances. And Olympus Has Fallen was one of the great surprises of the early 2010s. I remember it came out a few months before White House Down, and I think it made more money than White House Down.
The twin movies there.
Yeah, but Olympus Has Fallen. I love Gerard Butler. For some reason, I just think that I just try to watch everything that he's in because I think he's just hilarious and everything. And Olympus Has Fallen is one of my favorite films of his, and I think that was large credit thanks to Fuqua's direction. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on as we get closer to it. Final piece of news. Jake, you alluded to it earlier. I don't know if it's official yet, but Netflix is attempting to work out a deal to purchase Aaron Sorkin's The Trial of the Chicago 7. I know this is one that you're super high on because of the story, because of who's involved with it. But, this is huge. I think if we can get that a film of that prestige to Netflix to add to what they're already having, the awards contenders for Netflix, that's huge just to have another one to watch at home.
Yeah, Aaron Sorkin is I think he's directly responsible for some of my favorite films. Steve Jobs, particularly, which I think is his magnum opus. I think that he's kind of the greatest writer of dialogue since William Shakespeare, in all honesty. And he has such a direct and beautifully crafted writing style where, the dialogue is almost like action sequences. And I think that, with Aaron Sorkin being very politically invested, creating shows like The West Wing and The Newsroom, and then telling a story that seems almost like a passion project for him, and him, helming it as well as writing it, and with a cast like Sacha Baron Cohen, Eddie Redmayne, Yahya Abdul-Mateen, Jeremy Strong, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and one of my favorite new actors coming, Kelvin Harrison Jr. as Fred Hampton. But I think it's definitely something that is going to be spectacular. With The Social Network going to Netflix, a lot of people that didn't get a chance to watch it came back. I think you were in that category.
I was one of them.
But The Social Network is a brilliant film, and it's in large part thanks to Sorkin's writing. And I don't know if you've had a chance. Oh yeah, you've seen Steve Jobs.
Yep.
But that's also on Netflix, as well as I think Molly's Game. So he has a really good relationship with Netflix in terms of them putting his content out, and I think that this is no different. I've been following this for quite some time now, and I'm really excited for where it ends up.
Do you want to break down just a little bit of the plot for what people who aren't familiar with the actual, because this is based on a true story?
Yeah, so the film follows the Chicago 7, a group of 7 activists who were charged by the federal government with conspiracy, inciting to riot, and other charges stemming from anti-Vietnam War protests that broke out during the 1968 Democratic National Convention. Intended as peaceful protests, they instead devolved into a violent clash with the police and the National Guard. So it's right up Sorkin's alley. Yahya Abdul-Mateen is playing Bobby Seale, who's one of the co-founders of the Black Panthers. Which I'm just really excited for, and really excited to see that portrayal, because I think that he's a star after his incredible role in Watchmen. And I think it would add another awards contender for Netflix. You know, they already have David Fincher's Mank, Ramin Bahrani's White Tiger, Ron Howard's Hillbilly Elegy, George C. Wolfe's Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and Spike Lee's Da 5 Bloods, which has already come out. But if they do get it, because right now Paramount has originally planned to release the movie in limited release on September 25th, 2020, before going wide on October 16th, 2020. But I think right now the hope is that the trial of the Chicago 7 will still be able to come out in 2020 ahead of the presidential election in November, making it kind of a hot button topic and a hot button issue in an already hotly contested political climate. So I think it's really shaping up to be the perfect storm. And if Netflix does secure it, I think that it would really do a lot to kind of, at least spark some conversation.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, I think that kind of ease of access, like we were talking about earlier, to put that on there at a time like that, it could definitely make some waves. It's going to be interesting to see, as we were talking about with the shift in the Oscars timeline, like what is considered award season now? Because I mean, if this were to come out late October, mid-October, traditionally that would be like start of / prime awards contender timeline. But now if it's not until April, like, is that still a coveted awards slot if they're trying to get it out before the election? It'll be interesting to see.
Absolutely.
You know what wasn't interesting to see?
I can only guess that it is Artemis Fowl.
You are correct, sir.
We want to know everything about the man you work for. The man? Oh no. This isn't about the father. This is about the son, Artemis Fowl.
You've grown strong, son. And smarter than I ever imagined.
Then take me with you.
You're all I have now, Artie. There's just one very important thing I have to do.
Authorities launched a worldwide manhunt for the famous collector. He is suspected to have been behind some of the biggest robberies ever.
Dad. Hello?
Your family has taken something of great value from us. Return it to me or I will destroy everything you love.
You weren't supposed to see this yet. Your father is in a complicated profession. For years, he has protected powerful secrets that have kept mankind safe from the dangers of another world. It's time to face your destiny.
Well, Artemis Fowl. Artemis.
All right, let's go. Let's talk about it.
This movie, man. This movie. After quite some time in development hell, pretty much since the first book came out in 2001. So basically like 2 decades, they've been trying to put together a movie for it. Should have stayed there in development hell, but Kenneth Branagh got it out, tried to get it on the big screen. Disney bought Fox, said no. Coronavirus said no. So instead, it ended up on Disney Plus. 9% on Rotten Tomatoes, 20% audience score. So I'm not the only one here who holds this opinion. Man, this was it was a struggle to get through. I'm not gonna lie. You would think I'll try and keep this review brief so that it's not just me rambling for this entire podcast and we can get on to the King of Staten Island. But honestly, there's not too much to say. I don't want to waste time on it. But you would think that for a movie that is based on a young adult fantasy series, that there would be like it would be at least be like exciting, even if it's dumb, even if it doesn't make sense. Like there'd be like some excitement to it and some like world building and just like engaging aspects to it. But I found it pretty boring, to be honest, which was a shame because again, it's just like I'm a fan of fantasy. It's like I read the first book here. I know my brother read all of them and loved them, so it's just kind of a shame to see that. But I think it was a smart move to put it on Disney Plus. I'll give a brief plot synopsis here based on what Rotten Tomatoes has to say. Based on the first two books in author Owen Colfer's wildly popular children's fantasy series, Artemis Fowl tells the story of adolescent criminal genius Artemis, who captures a vicious fairy and attempts to harness her magical powers in a bid to rescue his family. So
Nice.
that sounds somewhat exciting. Not really. First off, this movie starts with Josh Gad, and he's like doing a deep voice like this, and it's for the whole movie, and it's just laughable. But he's narrating the movie from the present day, looking back on past events. His character based around fart jokes. Basically, he's like he's a dwarf, and they eat the ground, and like it comes out their ass, and they fart. Like he's like tunneling through the ground, and he's wearing Hagrid cosplay. He looks like Dollar Store Hagrid. Might do a like you versus the guy she tells you not to worry about with him. But I mean, like I was saying, this movie, you would think that there's at least some redeeming aspects to it. But it's not like a big adventure. They stay in the same place the entire time, basically. The plot is based around finding Artemis's dad goes missing. He gets kidnapped. And then they have to like find this MacGuffin to save him. And then it turns out the MacGuffin is in his house. So they just have to like find it in his house, which is pretty lame. No like epic fantasy quest. CGI, pretty awful. There's a centaur in this. And the centaurs in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone back in 2001 look better. So Disney did not put they did not support the budget here. There were some action sequences trying to lighten some things up, but didn't like them. Choreography. We were talking about dancing and the elegance of sword play and whatnot. No swords in this, but it's yeah, definitely. But they like the way that they just went about shooting this and putting it together. It's like the action sequences like blend slow motion sometimes, and then sometimes it's like fast forwarding, and just like the camera's constantly like revolving around what's happening, and it really just like is very like herky jerky. There's no real flow to it. But I think the biggest thing here was just I try not to be too mean to children actors, but this guy Ferdia Shaw, he plays Artemis Fowl. It's just he's not right for this. He does not have, I like your reactions here. He does not have like, he's very stoic. And this character, I don't know, there's like no charisma or energy at all to him. He's just very like resting bitch face the entire time. And that makes it hard to, when he's like he's like the lead. It's not very entertaining to follow him around. But and also, I mean, I like I said, I haven't read all of the books. I've read the first one, and it was in like 5th or 6th grade, so it's been a minute. But a lot of fans of the source material are very upset with this because of just the way, like everything basically. They changed. I read an article today to try and brush up on some plot points, but it was saying that like it's easier to cite the things that it did that were the same as the book than to cite the differences, that it basically just like changed everything. And one of the biggest complaints was that like in the books, Artemis Fowl is like a cold, calculated like psychopath basically as a 12-year-old or whatever. And that this kid's like he's trying to be like a cool, athletic, relatable kid basically. So people were upset that they toned that down. In the end, they were definitely setting this up for a sequel, but I don't think that's going to happen anymore. I doubt it will. Especially since there's no like cash to haul in. I don't know how they measure that on Disney Plus. But that's my Artemis Fowl review. It is a half star out of 5 from me. Any questions?
Well,
or are we ready to move on?
Well, yep. Yep. Movies are made. So.
Movies are made. It's free to watch if you want to. If you're desperate to watch it, it's on Disney Plus.
I will say though, if you are looking for something that may not be the best in terms of quality, but incredibly entertaining, I'd recommend Outer Banks.
Heck yeah! You finally got on that.
Bro, that show is insane. See, that's the thing I love is that like when people don't necessarily have like Oscar-worthy material on your hands, then what you need to do is just start escalating everything.
Just embrace it. That show by the episode gets more and more absurd. Like it started off with just like a teen, like a Gossip Girl kind of like The Hills, like OC teen dramedy, like teen romance, very cringy, and then it just escalates into drug cartels and shootouts and killing the police officer. Like, man,
bro,
not a quality show, but definitely an entertaining one.
I'll tell you what, that's probably one of the most entertaining shows I've ever seen in my life, and I cannot wait for season 2. So, shout out to
John B.
Boys. Yeah, shout out John B. Jonas Pate went to Carolina, I think, the creator.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, claim to fame. Great day to be a Tar Heel.
Legend. GOAT.
Moving on to something a little better, something we can both talk about.
I like your tattoos. What are those numbers on your arm?
Oh, that's the date my dad died. He was a fireman. Died in a fire 17 years ago.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Don't be. It's fine.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Not your dad.
You can't focus on Scott anymore, honey. He's 24 years old, Marjorie. Let that fucking bird fly, please.
Don't worry, Mom. I know your daughter got smart and went to college and abandoned us. But I'm still here. I'm gonna be here forever.
Yeah. I've been dating someone for a little while now.
The first guy you date in 17 years is a fireman, just like that? You don't think that's weird?
You're gonna have to pull your weight a little more around here. Maybe help Ray get his kids to school.
Kelly, do you know him?
He's a new friend.
You okay? You know you could tell me.
I'm okay.
Oh, I trained her in the car. She's not gonna break.
You ever think about putting on the jacket?
Why would you even ask me that?
What's wrong with being a fireman?
It's fine if you don't have kids, because you don't know if you're gonna come home or not, and then your kids are fucked up.
Now, let me tell you something. Your dad was a hero, and heroes are necessary, and they should be allowed to have families.
The King of Staten Island, the latest from Judd Apatow, straying from his raunchy comedy roots a little bit. This is more of a dramedy. Definitely more his like heaviest work so far. This movie's now available to rent on streaming services. You got to pay that $19.99 to check it out. But I would say it's worth it. Definitely more worth it than if you had to pay for Artemis Fowl. But
yeah.
Do you want to break down a little plot here before we get started?
Let's do it. Should I do it in my Staten Island voice?
Oh gosh, I've never heard that.
I don't know. I'm gonna try it, and then it's probably gonna be bad, so I'm gonna stop.
Oh God, I'm cringing.
Scott, Pete Davidson has.
You're not trying to scare away viewers or listeners.
So it follows Pete Davidson, who's Scott Carlin, has been a case of arrested development ever since his firefighter father died when he was 7. He's now reached his mid-20s, having achieved little, chasing a dream of becoming a tattoo artist that seems far out of reach, also opening up a tattoo restaurant. As his ambitious younger sister, Maud Apatow, heads off to college, Scott is still living and with his exhausted ER nurse mother, played by Marissa Tomei, and spends his days smoking weed, hanging with the boys, and secretly hooking up with his childhood friend Kelsey, played by Belle Powley. But when his mother starts dating a loudmouth firefighter named Ray, played by Bill Burr, it sets off a chain of events that will force Scott to grapple with his grief and take his first tentative steps toward moving forward in life. It currently holds a 72% on Rotten Tomatoes, 87% audience score. I think those are fair.
I think that's pretty right on point.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I can definitely see why the audience score is higher, but I think the critic score isn't bad. I mean, I that's really kind of where I fell with it too. Zach, what were your kind of general thoughts about it?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you there. This movie, I mean, when you think about Judd Apatow and kind of his resume, whether it's as a director or a producer, it's these kind of, you think of the top comedies of the late 2000s, you know, those like Forgetting Sarah Marshall's 40-Year-Old Virgin, that kind of era of the studio comedy. So this is definitely something that's not your typical Apatow project. It deals with much heavier themes. Obviously, like you mentioned, the loss of his father, how he's coping with it, his depression, his mental disorders, stuff like that are trying, just like really hindering Pete Davidson's character. And I think we were talking about it earlier, the fact that this is a passion project for Pete Davidson. This is like an autobiographical story of his life, basically, if he hadn't ended up on SNL. So, I mean, to see something like that, it's exciting to see him get to reckon with that, with his own story, and put something that he's so passionate about onto the screen. So, I mean, it's an entertaining movie. It's not really what you would expect. There's no real like laugh out loud moments. There's a couple good laughs, but nothing that's really like super raunchy or super like the kind of stuff that you would expect. Like I was saying from Apatow, or even Pete Davidson from his characters on SNL, what he's done in his stand-up career. But I like the way that it grapples with those heavier themes. And I think that Pete did a really good job with that. Bill Burr is great in this as well. For me, I found that the first half was kind of like aimless. It drags a bit. There's no real like form or shape to it. It's just like Scott. It works to establish Scott, who he is. Like, he's just kind of meandering, and it like mimics his lifestyle. But it feels more of like just a series of like scenes that are strung together, and not really like a coherent movie. But then once Ray and Margie, his mom, begin dating, that's when it really comes together for me. And I really enjoyed the second half a whole lot more than the first half.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. It really kind of feels like he just doesn't know what to do with his life, which I'm sure wasn't intentional, considering kind of his character and what he was doing. That it was just, I think it was intentionally supposed to be just him kind of walking into stuff that he didn't know about until Ray and his mother started dating. But you know, some of it worked, some of it didn't. I would definitely agree with you that when his mother gets in the relationship is really when it starts kind of centering itself, and I think it ends up becoming much more enjoyable because of it.
And that's also like when it kind of veers away from the traditional Apatow formula. I mean, when it gets into those heavier topics, because obviously he's scared about his mom replacing his father, especially with it being someone who's a firefighter, just like his dad. He has this whole grudge against firefighters as a whole, calling them selfish for sacrificing themselves but leaving their families out to dry. And I think that's great to really see Pete and Bill Burr's characters go back and forth as they try and figure it out, figuring like he wants his mom to be happy, but not in this way. I think their exchanges are really good to see. I mean, I love the one basically where Margie's like, it's the last straw for her, but when they're fighting in the backyard, he gets thrown in the pool. That was really funny, actually. You're in an above ground pool. You're 8 feet tall. You're not drowning.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that as much as I loved Pete Davidson in this, I think Bill Burr was the real winner here. I mean, I think that he was the best actor here to show a wide range of stuff, and I just loved all of the scenes of them together, and Pete with the boys at the fire station figuring out about his dad, like learning that his dad was kind of a screw up like him too, that it's not just like memorialized him as a hero all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think the second half is, I mean, like we said, it's much stronger, and their relationship, Bill Burr and Pete Davidson, is really dynamic, and I think that's when the stuff starts landing more, not only the jokes, but sort of like the emotional, the deft emotional beats as well. And, you know, I do think that it is a little bit long, and I don't think it necessarily needs to be as long as it is, but ultimately I would say the second half is really what makes it enjoyable, makes it worth watching, and makes it kind of like as well received as it has been, just because of it is a much stronger version of the film that we're watching.
Yeah, I'm with you there. 136 minutes. I found it to be a little too long. I might not have had that same issue if, like you said, that more of it was like the second half. If they'd spent maybe, instead of it being like almost a 50-50 split, if instead it had been a third getting to know Pete and then the second and third acts to be all about kind of reckoning with this and the new relationship, I might have been more comfortable with that runtime. But I mean, overall, like you said, I enjoyed it. I've felt like it was worth the spend, worth $20 to check it out. Yeah, I mean, I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, I believe. So considerable bump over Artemis Fowl, and I think that lines up pretty evenly with the general consensus of the movie.
Yeah, it is. And like you said, I think it's really enjoyable, and it's really kind of exciting to see when people are allowed to make things that they're passionate about. And Pete being able to kind of go forth and, with the help of Judd Apatow, kind of create the project that he wanted to. It's just one of those things where it's like, it's good to see people get to do what they want, and obviously I'm sure that this was cathartic for him, and hopefully it kind of helped him move forward if he had still had stuff that he wanted to address.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen, I don't know how much you've kept up with him, but like, I know we talked about briefly before we got on the podcast about like the fallout of him and Ariana Grande's split and how he was kind of demonized there. But just like, he's very open about talking about his struggles, about losing his dad, about everything. So like you said, this was hopefully gave him some of that closure, if that's what he was looking for, just being able to tell the story. And hopefully this will kind of propel him to, it can show like his depth as an actor versus just being in an SNL sketch. As I don't know if you've seen his Chad sketches, where it's basically him just going, it's like somebody saying something super complex and he's just like a stoner and he goes, okay,
yeah,
cool, like basically playing like what you would expect from him. But to see this and see him like kind of branch out from that a bit, it was nice.
Yeah, no, for sure. So it was good. It was good to see that. Quick shout out before we get to our top 5 best movie dads. I did just watch a movie called Driveways, which I had not heard about until a few days ago, and it is my favorite movie of the year. Even I liked it more than I did To Five Bloods. It's an hour and 23 minutes. It's really short. It's just a beautiful film in every aspect, and it's one of those films that you wish they'd make more of, because it's just a special thing to see, and it's everything about it is just so perfect and so brilliant. So if you have a few bucks, it's on Prime. It was supposed to come out, I think, for limited release, but coronavirus kind of messed everything up. So it's on Prime now, and it is. I highly recommend it to anyone.
I know what I'm doing tonight. Driveways. So, before we wrap things up here on this podcast, we are doing top 5 best movie dads. Now, this is not a draft. There might be some overlap, just a ranking here, top 5, 1 through 5. And Jake and I want to make this clear. These are the best movie fathers, not our favorites. For example, Darth Vader, an iconic, memorable movie dad. But is he a good dad, Jake? Is he a good father?
No, he is not a good father. He was not a good father for up until the last 15 minutes of Return of the Jedi. So, no, he is not a good father by any standard. I don't think any son would be happy to have him as a father. So this is not like the most iconic dads. It is the best dads, the ones that you would actually want to
now
post on Instagram for Father's Day.
Yeah, the Instagram shout out dads. That's what we should have called this. I was talking to you. We were kind of brainstorming some ideas, and I really wanted to put Dennis Quaid's dad from The Parent Trap. But then the more I thought about it, just because I love that movie, though I love the family, I love everything about that movie. But then the more I think about it, like, is he a real dad? Is he a real good dad if he can't recognize that it's not his daughter? Well, technically it's his daughter, but not the one he knows for like months, that she's like living under his roof and he can't even realize it. And then I saw a tweet. Meanwhile, Chessie is like, "Oh, you didn't eat your chili? What's wrong with you? Who are you?"
Yeah.
So he's not qualified for this list either, as much as I love him, as much as I love Nick Parker.
Yeah, but I think we should start with you, Zach. Who's your number 5 on your list?
Number 5, getting it started. I'm going with Mr. Incredible, Bob Parr from The Incredibles. Now, he's a popular pick. I would think that a lot of people might have him on their list, but I'm going to explain why he's at number 5, because he could have been higher, but when you think about it, the first movie, he's very secretive. He's selfish. He wants to be the star himself. He wants to get back into the superhero game, even if his family is obviously he's a family guy. He cares about his family, but he is willing to kind of like put them to the side in exchange for a potential resurgence into the superhero game. And then in the second one, he's just jealous that Elastigirl's out there kicking ass while he's stuck at home. So that's why he's 5. He still makes the list. He's a good dad, but he's no better than 5.
I think that those are all solid notes there. My number 5 is Thomas J. Whitmore, the president from Independence Day, played by Bill Pullman. And Independence Day, I think, is one of the most enjoyable action movies I've ever seen. So it's 1996. Go see it if you haven't. But he's a great father. He's a great father through and through. After the passing of his wife in the movie, he kind of steals his resolve and realizes that with the threat of alien invasion, he has to be there for his kids, as he has been. And it's a great performance by Bill Pullman, and yeah, it's solid.
Number 4. I'm keeping with the trend here. I'm going with these animated Pixar dads. They're their best. Number 4 for me.
No, absolutely.
Marlin from Finding Nemo. Marlin the clownfish.
Good choice.
I mean, this guy
Legendary
is willing
father.
to cross the ocean to save his child. I mean, I think that's going to be a theme with my list. It's how far are you willing to go for your children? And I mean, this guy goes all the way across the Pacific Ocean, as he's down there in Australia in the South Pacific. But, you know, he might get a little slack because he's strict. He's nervous. He's very overprotective. But, you know, he's just trying to do what's best for his child, what he thinks is best. So he's a good dad. You know, he's out there. He's protecting his kid. He's doing whatever it takes to get him back. So Marlin the clownfish, number 4 for me.
Solid. I'm going an animated route as well. My number 4 is Jefferson Davis, Miles Morales' father from Spider-Verse.
Okay, I thought about that.
Just great dad all around. I mean, you know, he's stern. He expects a lot from Miles, but that's just because he cares so much about him. And regardless of his thoughts about Spider-Man, when he realizes that Miles is the new Spider-Man, he is utterly effusive and gracious and willing to kind of help him with love and support. And you know, I think he is one of the best animated dads, and just a great father all around. And you can definitely see how they rekindle their relationship towards the end of the movie. Played by Brian Tyree Henry as well. So shout out Atlanta.
Classic. That's a good one. I thought about him. I did not end up picking him. Probably just because I haven't watched Spider-Verse enough. I need to revisit that one. It's so good.
Yeah.
My number 3, another father who is willing to do whatever it takes to protect his family, to find his children, even if it means breaking the law. That's Keller Dover.
Okay.
Keller Dover from Prisoners, Hugh Jackman's character. That is, Prisoners, one of my all-time favorite movies. I mean, not a bad dad because his kids get taken. You know, they literally just go out. They just go outside to play. It's not like there's anything that he did wrong to kind of disqualify him. And while Terrence Howard as Franklin Birch, the other father of a missing child, he's kind of taking the backseat, letting the police do their thing to try and investigate and find their kids. Keller said no. Keller said, I'm taking this into my own hands. I am going to go out there and wrangle up Paul Dano and keep him in the shower of an abandoned building, steam him up, torture him, smash him with a hammer, do whatever it takes to try and find my kids. Now, some of you may not condone those actions because they are illegal, but you know, that's just a dad who's willing to he's willing to do whatever it takes to get his kids. And I feel like I myself am not a father, but I feel like a lot of fathers out there are in the same boat. That it's like, if my kid is out there and I can do anything to try and save him, I'm going to do it. So Keller Dover, hat tip to you. Round of applause. Eventually, he ends up... No spoilers. So, Keller Dover, number 3 for me.
Good choice. My number 3 is Jason Furious Styles from Boys in the Hood. He is played by Lawrence Fishburne, and I think that he is really one of the greatest characters of the 90s. He has also one of my favorite scenes in movies when he kind of tells Cuba Gooding Jr. and his friend and really the whole community about gentrification in the area and how it comes about. But, you know, he's an educated soul brother. I think that he's someone that, you know, cares a lot about what's going on in his community. It's a great measured performance by Lawrence Fishburne, who's really on a big tear in the early 80s to late 90s, kind of throughout. And and he is really as good as dads go, so much so that he probably saved his son's life towards the end of the movie. But yeah, Furious Styles, that's my number 3.
You know, I'm surprised that good old Paul hasn't made the list from The Five Bloods. What a great dad. Great dad.
Yeah, I think that he might be on the same list with Darth Vader's.
That's true. Number two for me, another guy, once again, doing whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. Going with Brian Mills from Taken, Liam Neeson. You know, Keller Dover ended up, he pushed it to the limit, and then he stepped back. Brian Mills crosses that line time and time again. He goes across the world to find his daughter, kills numerous people, channels his inner particular set of skills in order to rescue her. And, you know, you might think he's a bad dad because his daughter gets taken 3 times. Well, I think they switch it up. I don't know if I've even seen Taken 3, but at one point, like, his wife gets taken. One point, he gets taken himself. So, you know, it's just they're just not a good family in general. But I don't think it's on Brian, because if you remember in Taken 1, he does not know that his daughter is going to be a groupie of a band and to travel around Europe. He thinks she's going on a very strict scheduled trip. And that's the only reason she ends up in this situation, is because she didn't follow his instructions. So, you know, he just really goes over there and does his thing, kills a lot of people, which, again, not necessarily condoning that violence, that behavior, but he does it to get his child back. So that's why he's number 2 on my list. I mean, it's hard to argue with someone as badass as that.
Solid choice. And Taken really became a cultural flashpoint for us. And, you know, with the great, the cell phone scene, I think still is one of the most iconic scenes of the late 2000s era as well when it comes to movies. My number 2 is Juan from Moonlight, played by Mahershala Ali. gave him his or earned him his Academy Award nomination and win. And it is one of the most beautiful expressions of Black fatherhood I've ever seen on screen. Much better and much more supportive than Paul in Da 5 Bloods. He's really helping Chiron kind of figure out who he is after dealing with like a terrible childhood and a terrible home. Juan really, while not his biological father or even his adopted one, he steps in the fatherhood role and really educates him not only on the streets and but also giving him the opportunity to be who he is without fear of being outed for being gay or for being who he is. And Juan is just, it's a shame that he's only in the movie for little more than half an hour, because I think that Tyrone life maybe would have turned out a little bit differently if he was still there. So respect to Juan.
I mean, that ocean scene is just one of the best scenes of the last decade. Teaching him to float in the
one of the best.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean, I'm sensing a trend here that your fathers are all more loving and generous, and mine are the ones that go kill people to find their stolen children.
Yeah, no, I think that the pinnacle of a good father is making sure your child is not stolen.
Nemo, then all these other kids, man.
But okay,
I'm going with.
You had a good point though, because they were all kind of like stolen. So I mean, like it's not their fault that they got taken. So
they just raised dumb kids. No. Okay, so I'm going for some redemption here for my final pick. Number one for me is an all-around great dad. Again, doing whatever it takes to provide for his children, not to rescue them, because his child is with him the entire time. Chris Gardner in The Pursuit of Happiness, played by Will Smith. Let's go. We can break it down together. What a great – this is one of my all-time favorite movies ever since I first saw it back in – whenever that was probably like late 2000s. But I just love this movie. Obviously, it works well because of the fact that it's his own son. It's Jaden Smith playing the child. So there's obviously some kinship there between the two of them. But I mean, this is a dad who it's heartbreaking to see him, like whether it's them living in not living in, but spending the night in the bathroom, but then still Chris Gardner finding a way to make this an adventure for his son, talking about dinosaurs, like all of that emotion there, that he's doing whatever it takes to provide for him, to give him that life. And then he eventually gets the shot to kind of get a better job where he can actually support them. And I mean, I think that I used to have the quote like taped on my wall, if you've got a dream, you've got to protect it. That motivational speech that he gives them on the basketball court. I mean, it's a great scene and a great, like the epitome of being a great provider, a great motivator, and just a supportive father.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. Similar to Furious Styles and Boys in the Hood, I think that he's really about education and about support and about kind of being able to provide and due to their situation. I think I've only seen it twice, but it was just a great thing to see, especially so early before, talks of diversity and inclusion, talks about changing the roles for Black people in film. To see something like that is just that relationship and like a loving Black father and a supportive Black father, and seeing things like that is present throughout and cares a great deal is special, and that's why he's my number one as well.
Yeah, and not to mention that performance got Will Smith an Oscar nominee for Best Actor. So, I mean, hard to argue with that. The character's great. The performance is great. True story, too. So, I mean, epitome of Best Dad. That's why he's number one on both of our lists. So, finally, someone who did not get their child snatched. I mean, there is that one scene, though. There is that one scene where the hippie tries to take him on the playground. So, avoided disaster there.
Yeah, that's pinnacle good dad moment right there.
So there you have it. Top 5 best movie dads. Happy Father's Day, belated Father's Day to everybody out there, all the dads. And thank you for listening. I mean, we got 2 movies that you can check out. We would both suggest King of Staten Island over Artemis Fowl. Maybe some Driveways in there. So a lot of options. But we will be back. You know what? We don't have anything planned for next week. We don't know what we're going to review. Maybe Hamilton. We've got that original Broadway recording dropping July 3rd. We'll have to figure it out. So bear with us. Come back. It'll be a surprise episode. But thank you all for listening again. Please be sure to follow us on all social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, at Inside Film Room. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review 5 stars wherever you get your podcasts. And tune in next week for a big surprise, whatever it is.
Yes, sir.